Hey, Jets fans. Last video of today been on quite a roll. I want to talk draft and I want to talk the NFL scouting combine, which is coming up very shortly. And I want to talk about some players that I have an eye on how they're going to perform at the combine. And I have some tiers of players that I'm looking for, and I'm looking to see how they perform for some different reasons. The first tier, I call it the freak show tier. And that is not even necessarily all guys that I want the Jets to draft or that I think they will draft, but it's just I love the combine, and I think these dudes can put up some pretty freakish numbers, and I'm excited to see it. So that is Kayvon Thibodeau, Trey Berks, Garrett Wilson, and Kyle Hamilton. All those dudes I think are going to do some freakish things for their respective position. I really think Kayvon Thibodeau might put on a display at edge defender that we haven't seen since Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. I think he's going to test off the charts and he's going to solidify himself as a top 3 pick, which I'm excited to see, but also I'm kind of bummed about because I feel like he's probably not going to fall to the Jets. I mean, the Houston Texans have done some dumb things in the past, but I think that's got to be the pick for them. Kyle Hamilton, a guy I don't want the Jets to take at 4, but I'm still excited of what he can do at the safety position. Super long, crazy athlete. He's built like a big-bodied wide receiver, almost tight end. I'm excited to see what he can do. And Garrett Wilson, I specifically just want to see what this dude's vertical is. I mean, he is like 5'11", 6 foot at the most, and he is just mossing people at Ohio State. I haven't seen a receiver 6 foot or under do that. Really, it kind of reminds me of Steve Smith in his heyday with Carolina, where he would just jump over dudes who had like 6 inches on him. So I'm excited to see what his vertical number is. It looks like fake. It's like cartoonish. He just like just takes off. Excited to see that. Trey Berks, just going to be a crazy combination of the height, the weight, the frame, the hand size, and the 40 is going to be off the charts. The last mock draft I saw had him falling all the way to the Bills, which, dear God, I hope that does not happen. Got to take him at 10 so he doesn't go to Buffalo. Can you imagine having to deal with Stephon Diggs and Trey Berks? Yeah, no, thank you to that. Those are the guys I'm looking forward to put on a freak show at the combine. There's one specific 40 time I want to watch. I think the 40 time is pretty overrated in general, but there's 2 positions where you want to keep an eye on it, and that's wide receiver and corner. Can you separate and can you keep guys from separating? Right at those 2 positions, where that straight line speed, being able to keep up or break away, can be pretty important. If you look at like corners, like if you're not in the 4.4s, you rarely go in the first round. You have some exceptions. I mean, even Richard Sherman, like he was slower, but he went later and he turned out being great, but he ran like sub 4.5, like 4.57 or something. So with wide receivers too, like if you're running in like the mid 4.6s, like I'm worried you're not going to get open. And I know it's like, oh, well, Jerry Rice ran this. And it's like, well, Jerry Rice is Jerry bleeping Rice, you know? Um, so I don't think it's the be all end all. We also see the opposite end of the spectrum where the Raiders drafted the guy who ran the fastest 40 for like 5 years in a row and none of them could catch or play. So I'm not advocating that, but I think you want to make sure a guy hits a certain number to be eligible for a top 10 pick. I think you got to just be below 4.6. Like if Drake London comes out and he's like 4.55, that's fine. 4.58, 4.59, 4.6. I'm a little worried about a top 10 pick at that point. Because then is he just like Braylon Edwards, like a jump ball guy? Then I don't want him at 10. So I'm keeping an eye on the clock for Drake London. Then there's a couple of guys who I have as the wild card category because I think they could be in play for the Jets in the second round, but there hasn't been a lot of buzz around them in terms of the fans, and I haven't seen them mocked there in any mock drafts. And that is Jalen Weidermeyer, tight end. Mainly because I'm mentally preparing myself for the fact that Trey McBride may not be a Jet. I really think the Jacksonville Jaguars at 33, that's a really good pick for them. So I feel like they might snag him from us. But Jalen Weidermeyer, he's bigger, 6'5", 265, inline blocker. So I'm excited to see how he runs, how he moves. I haven't watched a ton of him, to be honest. So he's just a name I've seen pop up, and I like the measurables, I like the stats, but I haven't watched him at all. So I'm excited to see how he moves and how he looks. Those are another wild card. Senior Bowl MVP Perion Winfrey, defensive tackle. Not a huge position of need, but you're always rotating guys in and out of the defensive front four, so he'd be able to get on the field. And you just picked up Quinnen Williams, fifth-year option, but if an extension becomes too pricey and you want to trade Quinnen Williams, you could maybe slide in Perion Winfrey after you make that move. He dominated at the Senior Bowl. He was living in the backfield. So I have seen him play, and he looks good. But Jalen Weidermeyer is a complete wild card. I don't know much about him, but I'm excited to see what he can do. Now, there's two guys I did not name, and these are my honorable mentions. One, George Karlaftis, and I'm really disappointed because he was going to be in my freak show category, but he's not going. And I really thought he was going to test really well. I thought he was going to test better than Hutchinson. Not a better player, not really close, but I thought he would test comparably with his measurables to Hutchinson. And I thought he was going to solidify himself as a top 10 pick and then be in play for the Jets at 4. But now, I don't know. I mean, again, the combine isn't everything, but I don't feel great about him not going because obviously he and his agent have a better sense of how he would test than I do. So that's telling me that they think maybe he would test below expectations. That's telling me that they think that him going to the combine wouldn't raise his draft stock. So I'm not thrilled about that. And then the other one is Stingley. That's because I don't want to draft him at 10, no matter how well or poorly he does. Just because the injury, I just don't want any part of that. I don't want any bad injury juju anymore on the Jets. I want to just take somebody who's got their best ability being their availability, right? So I just rather go Sauce Gardner. One, I think Sauce Gardner is a better player. He's been more consistent. Derek Stingley is just living off of that one really great year. So I'm probably not going Stingley at 10. I mean, yeah, you got to do your due diligence because if you end up trading like down from 10 to 20 and Stingley is on the board, you probably have to consider it at that point. But I'd really rather go in a different direction. Even if we drop to 20, then I'm probably hoping that one of the top two linebackers like Dean or Lloyd is there. And I'd rather do that than Stingley, honestly. Or like a Linderbaum if we move down. So that's where I'm at. Those are my freak shows, my wild cards, and my honorable mentions for guys to look out for at the combine coming up. Who did I miss? And do you agree with my tiers? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and go Jets.